Chefs, what is the beef? Cam here, welcome to another video. And in this video, this is going to be I suppose, a fairly emotional one, a fairly heavy video. Definitely not the type of video that you're used to seeing. You know, one that I'm going to speak very much from the heart, and just give you not a heavy dose of information, but I suppose a heavy dose of reality and truth. Yesterday was a very dark day for me. Yesterday was a very dark day. Let's say, to say the least. For whatever reason, and it happens the odd time, but for whatever reason it was, I slipped into a very strange and dark bout of depression. And I'm trying to, I can't really put my finger on what specifically caused it, you know what I mean, or what specifically led to that headspace or to feeling like that, you know. I suppose there's a couple of things. As I started off yesterday, me and Ella had a weekend away, and we'd spent it with friends. We've been in a nature reserve with a really nice weekend, and as we came back, we got back late Sunday night, and I know I was straight back into work yesterday morning, and again, the show doesn't stop. But again, I was absolutely exhausted. We started late. There wasn't a massive plan for what we wanted to get done in the week because I'd missed my Sunday planning session. And again, just in that state of feeling that I'm on the cosh, that I'm, you know, on the back foot, that I'm already losing as the week starts off. And I suppose there's an emotional roller coaster when you're away or you spend time with friends and then you're back to reality again. And whatever mix of feelings and mixture of the situation had led me into this extremely dark headspace. And as I started off yesterday, I seemed to be fine, and the reason that I seemed to be fine is because I kept telling myself I was fine. You know, it's grand, I'll do my video. I'm actually feeling really positive after my weekend away. I'm feeling really positive after this and that, and the truth was, deep down, I knew I was lying. You know, I knew I was lying, I wasn't telling the truth. And as the day progressed onwards, that reality hit me in the face like a fucking ton of bricks. And as we went through the entire day and I was trying to get through some of the work and make my way through it, I just kept feeling more and more unmotivated. You know, the motivation to do things was slowly just kept going away. My ability to communicate was going away. As my girlfriend was talking to me, I would just give one-word answers and I wouldn't be able to say anything. You know, and I could feel myself shutting down. You know, I could feel myself shutting down, and after a while, after a couple of hours of feeling like that, I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And, you know, a flood of self-doubt, a flood of dark emotions and dark thoughts comes into my head, and it's for anyone, I suppose, that's gone through it and had bouts of it, they know exactly what I'm talking about. But you know, all this doubt and all this emotion starts to creep in, and you begin to question yourself and what the fuck am I doing and why the fuck am I here, and you know, questioning the future and questioning what decisions I've made. You know, a lot of things come to the surface, and this feeling of just wanting to give up and shut off and, you know, close my fucking bedroom door, not talk to anyone, turn off my phone, get my fucking duvet and just bury my head in the sand. You know, that was all I wanted to do. You know, that was all I wanted to do. And just shut it off and just hope that tomorrow is a fucking different day. And I knew as I went through my day that I had jiu-jitsu at the end of the day. I had a 6 o'clock jiu-jitsu session. And this is my third week back at jiu-jitsu since the injury, and I've made a commitment to myself that I'm not going to give up on it, that I'm not going to stop. And I knew in the back of my mind that everything in me, everything in my mind was screaming to not go, to make an excuse, to fucking just leave it, and I'll make it up at some other point in the week, you know. And I kind of felt sick to my stomach at the thought of that, but it's all I wanted to do. And I went out into my living room, and you know, there was about an hour to go until I had to leave. We'd finished up the work that we needed to get done, and I'd looked at Ella, my girlfriend, and she knew straight away, you know, looking at me, that something was up, that something was wrong. And as I explained how I felt and trying to maybe brush it off, still not fully accepting what was happening, you know, still not fully accepting my own self-awareness that I was seriously struggling. you know, and I knew when I was talking to her, she could tell. And I said to her, she said, listen, you've got two choices. Because I was saying everything in my mind tells me that I want to stop, that I want to give up, you know, that I want to fucking scrap it for tonight. And she looked at me and she said, you got two choices. Choice number one is you can go for a walk, come back, you can lie on the couch and you can relax for the evening, and then get an early night. Or number two, you can take 20 minutes to yourself, pack your bag and go to jiu-jitsu, and feel better for having done that. And I knew as I said it to her, and I knew as she was explaining the excuse route to me of not going, that I felt even more sick to my stomach, because I knew I wouldn't live with myself if I hadn't have gone. If I had just fucking said leave it, fuck it, I won't go. So I did. I went in and I sat in my bed with my head in my hands, and I was just, I suppose, fucking fighting back tears and whatever emotion rising up. And again, I can't pinpoint why those emotions were there, or, you know, what the reason was for them popping up like that, but they were there in full flow. And as I stood up, I packed my bag, I put my shit there, and I could feel a knot in the middle of my chest, stomach, not like a nauseousness feeling. And I kissed her and I walked out the door, you know, and I went. And there's this place called Chapel Street down the road, around the corner, and as I was walking down that road and I was listening to music, obviously what happens in these situations is you put on something emotional, and I think I put on fucking a Black Sabbath tune, Changes. You know, it's a great tune. Anyway, as I was walking in the street, I noticed the tears are starting to stream down my face. You know, whatever emotion, the mixture of where I was at, and the song, it just led me to a point of nearly breaking down. You know, nearly breaking down. And about 3 or 4 times in that 20-minute walk, I said, fuck it, I'll actually get away with walking somewhere and sitting there for 2 hours and going home. That's what I wanted to do. And just leaving it, you know, anything but going there. But I knew that it's the commitment I made. I know how I felt walking out of there the past 2 times, that I felt amazing. Tonight's not going to be any different. You have to go, you have to show up. So even with that emotion, I wiped the tears off my face and I walked in, and, you know, long story short, we go through the session, and it's a great fucking session, you know. I get into a flow state. It's very difficult to think about how bad you feel when someone's strangling you know what I mean? And that's a very powerful thing. And as I left there, a big lesson struck a chord in my mind as I walked out, and my chest was proud, and I looked forward, you know, and I didn't have that heavy, dark feeling in me anymore. I still felt a bit emotional, you know, but I didn't feel like shutting down anymore. And the lesson for me, and I knew this before, but I realized it after, is that the second I start identifying with the problem, I become the problem. And the second that I remove myself from the problem and just understand that it's about taking action is where it all changes. So when I start identifying with the problem, if I was to refer to myself as, oh, you know, I'm just a depressed guy and this just happens to me, or I'm an anxious guy and, you know, this is just how I feel and it debilitates my life, you know, that's an identity that you're forming, and that identity will harm you. You know, that identity will harm you. It's a state of mind. I don't always feel like that. You know, I don't always feel like that. But the reality of not feeling like that all the time, that means it doesn't mean that that's me. That's not me. You know, I'm not the depressed person. I'm a man who has suffered with bouts of depression. And there's a difference. For me, it's a state of mind that I was in. And as dark as that state of mind is in, it's still just a state of mind. And whatever outside factors that had led me there, cool, I know I need to control them going forward. So for me, I knew that if it's a state of mind, I need to change my state in order to change where my mind's at. And I knew that jiu-jitsu would do that. And that was a big lesson. And I also say to myself that as if you're going to lead other chefs, which you do on a daily basis, if you're going to lead them to live a better life, if you're going to lead them out of the darkness and lead them out of the shit, who the fuck are you if you're not willing to do the same thing? You know what I mean? If you don't practice what you preach, you don't live the principles that you tell other people to live by, who the fuck are you? You know, when I knew that in my mind, that I knew it had to be done. And what I realised, and the lesson for all of us to take away from this, is that life is about choices. No matter how shit the situation is, we always have a choice. No matter how hard it is, we always have a choice. And the problem with mental health is this. Mental health, when you're struggling with depression, when you're struggling with anxiety, is that it nearly debilitates you from fixing the problem. Do you know what I mean? Like everything, it'll scream at you to not do anything to fix the problem. But the truth is, the only way that it's going to get sorted is that if you make a better choice, and if you decide to take action on it. You know, I knew for myself that if I just spoke to Ella last night and I just sat down on the couch and did fuck all, the situation just would have got worse and worse and worse. Whereas I knew, as painful and as heart-staking as it fucking was, I'm walking down the road crying, you know, the action of getting up and doing that and walking back and feeling proud of myself for doing it, that was the difference between me fucking nearly breaking down completely and me actually being able to put my head in my pillow last night and feel happy with myself, you know. And that's the truth. Mental health might make it difficult for you to fix the situation, but the problem is only you can fix the situation in those places. So understand that life is about choices, and also take this into account that I do videos like this and I don't really have a problem talking about how I feel, because I don't particularly give a fuck about people's judgment. But I know I'm not alone, you know. I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not the only person that suffers with these kinds of things from time to time. I know you go through the same thing, and if you haven't, you know, if you're not going through it right now, of course you've probably been through it in the past. Understand that by looking at a video like this, I hope it gives you permission to speak up and talk about how you're feeling. You know, it requires courage to speak up about these things. I understand that, but we are all here for you. You know what I mean? Chef it as a message, as a movement. You know, our thing is always about having courage and being able to speak up about what's going on, no matter how fucking bad it is, and there's always someone there to support you, as there should be. So the lesson that I want you to take is that we have choices, chefs. You know, that we have choices, and I hope you learn from the story that I just told you about my own problems, and then maybe that gives you the inspiration, or maybe gives you the insight or the know-how to deal with your own problems as they come to you. So anyway, that in mind, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry it was a bit fucking heavy, sorry it was a bit dark, but you know, you gotta keep it real, I suppose. Anyway, much love to all of you. I'll catch you on the next one.